What's up, everyone? My name is Willie.
And I'm not wearing a floral shirt.
And we are Shootin The Shift. And after a long hiatus from our normal format, we bring you guys back to our traditional podcast format, which we'll be discussing current events in the car world. We'll have our head-to-head segment, and we'll also be talking about, why, basically.
You should know already. Yeah, you should know, definitely.
So first up is the delicious McLaren P1 LM going up Pikes Peak. And if there's two things that everybody should know is what the McLaren P1 LM is and Pikes Peak.
Yes.
And when you put those two things together, it's just pretty amazing. So some lunatic decided to take the 986 horsepower P1 LM street legal, basically the street legal track version of the P1, which if you haven't seen this car, I highly suggest that you Google that. And it will forever be saved in your memory as one of the most beautiful cars ever.
And to be honest, probably one of the most beautiful places to run a car like that ever.
Yeah. Just a little bit of facts on this car, 986 horsepower. It is the current street legal record holder at the Nürburgring. I know some of you are going to say, well, the SVJ is the fastest car in the Nürburgring. Yes, the fastest production car. This is the fastest street legal car. There have been cars that are faster than this, but this is the fastest street legal production car. Or sorry, the fastest street legal car around the Nürburgring. So,
and what sounds like that, I think it should be illegal. With such violence down the road.
Correct, because the P1 LM was not a full-on production car, but it is street legal. So, yeah, it's a really, really cool video of this car going up Pikes Peak, which is a beautiful drive in and of itself. And the guy's not really giving it the full beans, which would have been cool to see, but it's understandable as to why. This is a very expensive car, and yeah, it would probably be the last one that he would fly off of a mountain because you really can't get another one. So
yeah, part of the actual hill climb itself or the road is. It's mostly not with the guardrail. There's some sections that there is, but for the vast majority of the ride up, you are pretty much there's really nothing to save you at all.
Yeah, you're looking at the sky the whole time.
No, like more
not the whole time.
Yeah, like at the bottom you got some trees and whatnot, which could save you or make it worse. And then up to the top there's just dirt and like 14,000 feet below you. So, but they do. Pikes Peak and Red Bull and a bunch of people who do production cars and electric cars and everything. They go there and they do the hill climb. Sometimes for competition, sometimes for research. So it's definitely a fun place to be. Correct.
And just to run through a couple of specs of the car, like I said, 986 horsepower, 770 foot-pounds of torque.
Foot.
It has an insane. I mean, you can hear the turbo just the blow off valve just
super
going nuts
angry
on that car. So it's obviously a lot of boost is being pushed into that engine. The weight of the actual car, I believe, goes down to let me see, P1 LM. I think it's about 100 kilos less than the normal car, and it has a hell of a lot more downforce. So
I think what the people want to know is it looks great, really fast. The turbo sounds like it's attacking you, basically. And Pikes Peak, please take whatever car you own and go there because you could literally have fun in anything.
Yeah, on the YouTube version, while we're discussing it, we'll be posting. Obviously, you guys can see some clips of the car actually going up the hill, which is pretty sick. And then we can go ahead and move on to some Formula One action.
Yes.
Go ahead, take that.
Interesting. A lot of things going on. Well, as we speak, not the race, but the races should be going on a little bit. Ricciardo, Mr. Smiley himself, is not able to drive a Renault.
Yeah, so there's an Abu Dhabi test right after I believe it's before or after it should be after the Abu Dhabi race. There's a test that normally goes on for all the teams. They're basically just gearing up for the following season. And as you guys, or if you guys don't know, Daniel Ricciardo is leaving the Red Bull team, or Aston Martin Red Bull team, to move on to the Renault Works team. Usually, most teams, when they have a driver moving to a different team, will allow that driver to test with their new team, which a lot of other drivers are being allowed to do so. Charles Leclerc is being allowed to test with Ferrari, although he's leaving Sauber, or Alpha. Is it still called Sauber or Alfa Romeo team? I think it is Alfa Romeo Sauber.
Yeah.
And there's a couple other drivers that are moving teams that are also going to be allowed to do the same. Red Bull is saying that he has commitments in his contract, some kind of events or something. I think it's a bunch of BS. I think they just don't want him testing with his new team. I think that because of the news that came out, what has come out is basically Red Bull was blindsided by Daniel leaving. They had no idea. They had no inclination. They didn't know that he had any plans of leaving. They actually thought that he was going to renew with them.
No.
And all of a sudden, he comes out and says that he's going to Renault and he has a deal with Renault. So I think based on that, I think they're giving him a little bit of that same taste.
It's a hard time.
They're just,
a bit of a hard time,
it's, quid pro quo. They're giving him a little bit of what he gave them. So
and in pure Ricciardo fashion, he basically just said, it's fine, I can go on holiday.
Yeah. I mean, but it's very important for the new driver to get used to a completely new car. This is a new car that he has to learn. They don't have a lot of seat time in these cars because they're not allowed to test the cars outside of the testing days.
Yeah.
So it's not like he can just go and drive the car whenever he wants. These are actually very critical days for them to get used to the car and develop the car for the next season. So I think you can see both angles. You could say that it's a dick move from both of them. It was a dick move from him to blindside them and not give them notice of him leaving. And this is also a dick move on Red Bull's part, where they're just not letting him test the car that he's going to be driving next season.
Yeah. I mean, he's definitely not smiling, that's for sure.
No. I mean, there's nothing he can do about it. He is under contract with Red Bull. They have no obligations to let him test. So, the crazy part is he's not testing the Renault, and he's also not testing the Red Bull. So they're not even. I mean, because it makes sense. Why would they test a car with him if he's not going to be their driver? So
vacation it is.
Vacation it is. Next up we have. You guys have probably seen some spy shots of what seems to be a mid-engine Corvette that's being developed. And there's a guy online who did kind of a rendering of what it's going to look like based on the camouflaged or the spy photos of the car. It looks, I'm not a huge Corvette fan. I think the new ZR1 looks excellent. But
they for years they were able to get they didn't have it right in the all around performance area and the design and look of the car area. So a lot of people are probably going to disagree, but now that they have the aerodynamics down and they have the performance there, and then the fact that you could actually enjoy a Corvette around the track and not just the straights, I think they're focusing a lot, or they're trying to focus a lot on the looks now.
Yeah,
Definitely.
I mean, the fact of the matter is that if you're going to, once you perfect almost everything else, engine placement is very important for balance.
Definitely. And
for low center of gravity. So it's eventually all these cars are going to go mid-engine. If you notice, the 911, the RSR, the track car, that's in the IMSA series and does in the World Endurance Championship as well. You'll notice that car last year was the first year where they actually moved it into a mid-engine car. 911's always been a rear-engine car, but there's only so much you can do. Even though Porsche's been very smart with how they've improved the cars here and there to make them perform better,
right?
Just moving that engine forward, I mean, the benefits you get from it are just second to none. So
ridiculous.
A lot of these car manufacturers you're going to see are going to start to go mid-engine because it's just
makes sense.
It makes all the sense in the world to do so. So that's what the news is, and that car should be unveiled in 2019 is the word on the street. is when we will actually see the car and it will formally be announced, which will be interesting because that'll give the Corvette a lot of performance advantages.
Yeah.
So
right now, it definitely looks, from what I could tell, I mean, the front has like a little bit of like old school.
It looks NSX-ish to me. It looks NSX-ish a little bit. It's hard to say that. NSX-ish.
NSX.
NSX-ish.
NSX. NSX-ish.
It sounds like you're like against and like NSXist, like you're not NSXist.
You're not an NSXist. Yeah. Got it.
But yeah, the front end in the camo pictures looks like NSX a little bit. I think the side kind of looks okay. So the front looks like the old NSX. The side looks like the new NSX. And there's not a lot of pictures of the rear.
At least with this, like the angle of the lights that I'm looking at right now.
Yeah.
And obviously whoever's watching the videos is gonna be looking at it as well. To me, it looks like the lights of like the front lights of a 430.
Yeah, I mean the rendering looks like the freaking the Hennessy Venom,
pretty much
the Venom GT or whatever. That's what it looks like. But I mean, I think it's.
Hold on, could it be Hennessy? Someone at Hennessy drew this.
I just hope my biggest critique of all the Corvettes, honestly, is the interior. I think that like on some of these like ZR1s, you're spending like on the newest ZR1, you could spend 150 grand on that car, and the interior looks like any other Corvette, and it's like. It just looks cheap.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, like if they could really just nail that interior, the exterior looks,
that's what I'm saying. Like it goes back to what I was saying. They were so concentrated on, the plastic body and the whole nine and trying to figure that out. And they just copied and pasted a bunch of stuff inside the interior and that's it.
Yeah.
Now I think we're going back to that and trying to make that way better,
Yeah. The exteriors, this last generation of Corvettes is the best looking in my opinion, of all the Corvettes until you get obviously into the older Stingrays and stuff like that. That's a different, and of the modern era of Corvettes, this is the best looking one. But the interior to me is where they're lacking, which other manufacturers have gotten it right. Porsche with the 911.
Let's hope, man.
Ferrari, with the 488. Their interiors are just, when you're spending that kind of money, you wanna get your money's worth.
I mean, well, now that I'm looking at the spy shots, the front does still remind me of a 430.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to tell with the camo because you're just seeing like projector lights, so it could be anything really. But it looks. I think it's gonna be cool, man.
I can tell you that I'm not a. It looks like the back's like raised or whatnot. Like I'm not a huge fan of that at all.
I mean, there's a lot of speculation. One is that it's going to be a twin turbo V8, so it'll be the first Corvette with twin turbos or any kind of turbo. I know they've used superchargers in the past on certain versions,
right?
And the fact that it may have some kind of hybrid electric motor system, which that there would be a lot of Americans that would kill themselves after they heard that it was that there was some kind of hybrid anything in there. So, which it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. So brace yourselves, my friends. I feel you. Trust me.
I believe the top of the line engine is gonna make 850 horsepower.
Yeah,
it's a 5.5.
It's getting crazy, and that's something we've talked about in the past. Like the numbers are just like I remember when 400 horsepower was like that was an insane amount of power.
Oh yeah.
Now
it's
we find ourselves just talking about 700 horsepower cars like it's just a normal thing.
Well, I mean, we're already talking close to 1,000 horsepower now. If you look at most of like the monsters that are being created now. So,
and speaking of 700 horsepower cars, that takes us into our head-to-head segment, where we're going to discuss the 2019 Chevrolet ZR1 versus the 2018 Porsche 911 GT2 RS. So, if you've ever felt like there was a lack of spoilers, diffusers, carbon fiber, and horsepower in this world.
No.
No?
No.
Okay. Because both of these cars have an excessive amount of all of that. So
wait, hold on a second. You're telling me that they have like spoilers and engines and all those things?
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
Scaffolding.
They have scaffolding as well?
Scaffold. Some people call it spoilers, some people call it scaffolding.
Wow.
So only these actually have actual aero effect. It's not like the ones that we've seen that are just stuck on to a Civic EX.
Was it built by a man in a shed?
No.
And who makes these things?
All right, so the Corvette ZR1 is made by Chevrolet.
Mm-hmm. AKA America.
Yeah, America. And it is sporting 755 horsepower V8 engine.
American power.
With 715 foot-pounds of torque.
Goddamn.
It has a curb weight of 3,650 pounds. So it's a chunky one.
Is that a curve like a curvature? Like
it's chunky.
It's
that's chunky for a track car. It uses, and they're sticking with this, man. I kudos to them sticking with a normal torque converter, automatic transmission, an 8-speed automatic gearbox. It's not a dual clutch. It's not a manual. So it seems to work for them because the numbers aren't too bad.
Not bad at all.
I think eventually they're gonna. It's not. It's. I don't know if a dual clutch gearbox would give them a little bit. It should give them better numbers, because the GT2 RS is under power severely and under torque, and it's getting a better quarter mile time than the ZR1.
But you already know if they swap it out, it's not gonna be American. It's gonna be. Come on, man.
Yeah, well, I'm just. Come on, the ZR1 is doing 10.8 in the quarter mile. The base price is a lot cheaper than the GT2 RS. That's the main advantage of the ZR1 is the fact that you can fully spec one out for about $150,000 as opposed to, $350,000 on a GT2 RS.
That sounds like a deal.
So that's that sweet deal right there.
That's that sweet deal right there.
The GT2 RS is doing. It's got obviously a turbocharged, twin turbocharged flat six. Producing 691 horsepower, 553 foot-pounds of torque. It is 300 pounds lighter than the ZR1 with a 7-speed twin-clutch gearbox, doing 10.3 in the quarter mile. That would mostly, I think, be because it's 300 pounds lighter, which is...
und fast.
Yeah.
Und efficient.
Yeah. The only thing I don't like about the GT2 RS, to be honest, which was the same crap that they did on the M4 GTS.
Here we go.
Is a stupid distilled water tank that in the front of the.
By the way, he already got the car. But this is like part 5. Go ahead.
No, it's not because I'm an M4 GTS.
No. The renting.
No. I'm just. What I'm saying is that why couldn't Porsche being Porsche? Why couldn't they figured out a way to give this car that power? Or find a way to not have to fill up I think it's like a 2-gallon tank of distilled water in the front of the car whenever the car says it needs distilled water for whatever reason.
Dude, cars are thirsty, man.
Dude, but they did the same crap in the M4 GTS. Uh-huh. There's plenty of cars out there that make the same power that don't need that.
Okay.
So they could have figured that out. That's the dumbest thing. Who's gonna remember to take? Oh, hey, I'm gonna go on a hill climb. Oh, don't forget the distilled water. Because you can't put like bottled water in there. It has to be specifically distilled water.
Yeah.
So just like my steamer, you're not supposed to put. No, it has to be distilled water because if not, you get little calcium deposits in the. So
is that exactly what they told you in the same fashion?
They sent me a video with a guy talking
with a guy like that.
Yeah.
Hey man.
Yep.
Yeah,
So what do you got? Who do you got on this, man?
I want to say for the first time ever in my life, I'm probably gonna say it's gonna hurt too. I'm probably gonna say the Corvette for sure. Yeah, this is a piece of my soul died right now.
Look. What you could do is you can buy that Corvette for $150,000, fully loaded. Have someone redo the interior completely. For about, I don't know, 20, 30 grand, you're still much cheaper than the 2RS.
The only reason I say this is because of the experience that I've seen, like the differences that I've seen whenever he's gone to the track, and obviously I'm sitting in the car with him. On the straights, he never had a chance. But on the curves, and I'm talking about 2 or 3 generations of Corvettes ago, on the curves is when you would be able to catch up and you would get that space. So it was always a constant battle or kind of like a tie, to be honest, in that sense.
This would be a little different.
Yeah, this would be a lot.
This would be a little different
yeah.
because that was a GT. That was when I had a Gen 1 991 GT3 versus that generation ZR1, which that was like a 2014, 2015, something like that. So yeah, on the straights, forget it, because I only had 475 horses.
Correct.
They had I think at the time it was like 650, 660, something like that. So in the straights, it was just, there was no competition.
But what you also have to key into this whole situation is they've loaded that car with aerodynamics. Like, it corners now. That car does the straight. It always had the straights. It has the corners.
Yeah.
And, it's ridiculous.
The newer ones are a lot better. Yeah. But the 2RS. There is a huge price gap that you have to get over.
Oh, for sure.
And the other thing you have to get over is, can you even get a 2RS at sticker? That's your other issue. Because the 2RSs right now are going for almost $100,000 over sticker.
So basically, they have it listed here at almost $300,000, which is like $294,000. So the 350 you mentioned before is the actual price you can get one for now.
The difference is the Porsche dealer is going to tell you, no, I'm going to need another $100,000. The Chevy dealer is going to say, please buy one.
Actually, no. The Chevy dealer will probably be like, we'll knock off like 20 grand.
We'll knock off. Yeah, for sure. So, yeah, there's that to consider. Now, if you want to get a car, and it's kind of like the GTR argument that we've had in the past, where if you want bang for your buck, if you want ultimate horsepower with decent aerodynamics,
numbers.
You can't compete, because you can buy two of these for the price of one 2RS.
Right.
So you can have one for the track to destroy, and then you can have the other one to like do whatever.
Actually, you can buy,
and you would still have that extra money to do the interior on both.
What would you put as a material in the interior,
dude?
I
would redo the entire, like, everything is coming out. Steering wheel, everything.
Just snake skin.
No, it's all out. It's all gone. I would do it all in like the stars and stripes. Like, I would do like
the shifter knob would be like a
can of like Miller Lite or something. Like, it could be anything.
Natty Ice.
Oh yeah,
or Pabst
or Miller High Life.
No, it's too much.
Because it's an expensive. It's an expensive Corvette, bro.
That's right. It is. Yeah. Champagne beers.
Oh man.
I mean, yeah. So like, it would be tough, and I really don't like Corvettes. Not because of anything, but I just don't like. Now they're a serious competitor, man. So.
I'm not a fan. I feel like, I don't know. There's just something
about
him.
Better.
There's something about him that I'm never in love with that car.
But if we're talking like the head to head that I think we're talking about is just performance and
sure. Well, I mean, it's a head to head.
Because if we did head to head interiors, I'm going with you.
No, it's overall.
Yeah.
I mean, for sure, the ZR1's going to sound a hell of a lot better than the 2RS. I don't like the way that I don't personally like how turbocharged cars sound. So exhaust, there's going to be a definite advantage in the Corvette.
Right.
Aero, I think aero goes to the 2RS for sure. That car has an insane amount of aerodynamics, and Porsche's really dialed that car in.
Yeah.
And interior is going to go to the 2RS as well. Obviously. That's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
but I do agree with you. Like,
then you got the price factor. You got to include that in, because it's a factor. I mean, the price is just, it's hard to not talk about it because it's such a big gap.
Yeah.
So if money was no object, 2RS. If you're on a budget and you're like, I got $200,000 to spend, which is an insane amount of money on a car. I got $200,000 to spend. I mean, you're going to get a really well-performing car, and you're going to have money to spare.
Or, this is just a theory, it might work. What you do is the budget you have for the 2RS, right? You get two of them, like you said. So when you go on a track, if you are behind the 2RS, you can get the other guy.
No, you get two ZR1s.
Correct, the two ZR1s. If you are behind the 2RS, you can have the other one block them and kind of like on the same track. Just have somebody block them out, and then you pass them. There you go, done deal.
All right. So moving into our last segment.
But why?
So this takes us to Seattle, Washington.
Have you ever stepped outside of your house on the driveway or whatnot, and then just imagine something in your imagination in your head just come to life? Because I think I've had this moment a lot.
I have a lot of questions for this, but why? But we'll tell you what happened, and then I'll get to the questions.
Correct.
So in Seattle, there was a truck carrying 2-pound metal balls uphill, and suddenly it let loose, and all the metal, these are 2-pound metal balls, rolled downhill in what looks like a suburban neighborhood, hitting everything, mailboxes, cars.
We also have to make note that it was not raining that day.
It was not.
That
would have only made things worse.
It's the one day in Seattle where it's just sunshine.
Yeah, metal and water, there's not a lot of friction there. It just goes. So
there's a bunch of questions.
So yeah, question. What is the purpose of these metal balls? What do you do with 2-pound metal balls?
I think
are they the what starts out? This is what a kettlebell starts out as, or something, or like what? Like I don't understand.
It could be like the opening scene of Swordfish. There can be like projectiles.
I just don't like them. Yeah, and then like what? And then like. You just forget to lock it? Like what the hell happened?
And you guys will see the clip. I don't want to be the guy in that Honda Accord.
Bro, these things are rolling down this hill. They're going like looks like they're hitting a good 20 to 30 miles an hour.
A piece of the car comes off because one of
those
it
rips a piece of a car off. Because some of them are bouncing, right? So
it's just standing there like fuck it. It's just gonna whatever.
Insane. And they quoted some guy saying, "I'm looking back and then I see all these balls and I said, holy shit."
Yeah, whoever came up with the caption for this article.
No, the caption, this comes from the Jalopnik site, and the caption's amazing because it says Seattle truck blows load, empties balls. Oh man.
And you've heard of things like this before, like the money trucks that spill on the highway and stuff. But metal ball, dude. What if you're walking on the sidewalk,
dude? Do you remember the times when we missed? Like now, we almost don't miss anything. Like everything gets caught on camera. Yes. Like imagine if we would have never seen this. This is amazing.
Oh my god.
Like
dude, no, imagine you like took out the trash or something, dude. Your ankle's gone after that for sure.
You get hit by one of these balls.
You're done.
You're done.
Yeah, you're done.
You're done.
Ankle blowout minimum.
You're done.
At least.
Like there's no like I'm sure there's probably another video somewhere of some idiot trying to catch one of these and just got like knocked out.
Or it took him downhill as well. Just took him over.
Where did they end up? I wonder if some guy had a house at the end of the block.
Oh my god!
and they just all ended up inside the house.
No, the house would be like Swiss cheese, bro. What the hell? Just in the driveway, bunch of holes.
Oh man!
Sir, did you experience a drive-by? No. Try explaining that shit to a cop. What happened? Bunch of balls were going downhill.
The driver of the truck, Robert Herman, called 911 as soon as he realized what was happening.
Sir, please tell me what happened. There's a bunch of black balls. Black balls.
My truck just released all of its balls.
These can be I guess part of like the ball bearing or like the wheel bearing of a huge truck. I don't know. I'm thinking of uses for 2-pound balls.
It says police closed the road and crews took several hours cleaning up the mess.
Mess balls.
They brought basically what they did is they brought a bunch of track and field guys that play shot put.
A bunch of guys practicing
for the Olympics. Oh man. Well, all right, guys. That pretty much wraps up the show today. Definitely subscribe both on YouTube and on the actual podcast itself. You'll be able to check us out on Spotify as well now, as the podcast will be up on Spotify. And yeah, as always, just like, subscribe, and let us know in the comments section, if you guys want to see anything that you haven't seen or that you want us to discuss. We're always open to it.
Or you can just give us other reasons why these balls even exist.
If you want to just comment on metal balls, that's cool too.
Correct.
What
usage?
We're
Do
into
you
it.
know exactly? Are you related to the truck driver?
And for Brian, anything ball related doesn't have to be metal. It could be any
exactly.
Kind of
We
material.
can talk about baseballs, tennis balls.
Yep.
Wow. Those are just my favorites.
Yeah,
Those
anything
balls.
sack related, he's
correct.
Good.
Yeah, I'm a sexual kind of guy.
He's a sucker for a sack.
Yeah, and if you are an NXS-ish, I can't even say it.
NSX-ish.
NSX-ish.
Well, all right, guys.
Is that a sexuality?
It can be. So that pretty much wraps it up, guys. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye. Latest.